Good morning from New York. Today, better communication, inner mind communication, progressive politics. The connection is empathy. Wow. Okay. Today, I'm very tired. I have a lot to do today, and I didn't have time to create a script. So hang on. Do you understand what empathy is, first of all? I think most of you do. Um, it means caring for another person in a way that shares their feelings or attempts to. And there are biological or species, whatever you want to call it, ways that we do through body language, facial communication. There's a lot of almost universal human ways that we share uh, emotions and feelings of other people. Um, Fact check that, but that's my guess at the moment. Um, Not about the meaning, but about the. Uh, so we're looking at better communication first. What is better communication? Better communication is communication that is successful. Successful at what? Helping us to achieve uh, a better grasp of what's true, um, a more artful acceptance, a creative acceptance of ourselves and each other, and a compassionate perspective, goodness that we develop or can develop. All of these things are goals of good communication. Inner mind communication is about directing, and so it's empathetic communication. Um, I guess, yeah, I need to elaborate more. Um, your interpersonal communications, that's what I'm doing in real life, um, in business and whatever arena. The best communication is empathetic. And empathy has different forms, and you need to use those forms. Like I said, empathy is how we love one another, um, and share each other's feelings. But there are three different ways of doing that are connected to virtues, inherent virtues that we as a species have. Um, One is objective, which gets us to a greater sense of truth. Objective empathy loves using the tool of objectivity. It's empathetic, but it's more in a counseling kind of role, which I call your inner counselor in inner mind communication. Um, the creative empathy is where you use um, your power of your power of art. That's another virtue, artfulness. Um, your creativity to love another person and share their feelings. That's creative empathy. So that creative empathy would involve being open to seeing things from different perspectives, um, being artful in the way you communicate, having a sense of what the other person is ready or able to hear, um, and you know, empathy wraps itself around a kind of comfort zone. There's no good communication and no real empathy if there's movement outside of the comfort zone in your communications. So you don't want to create defensiveness, fear and anger. Um, you want to have a calm situation, uh, if possible. That usually means communicating, starting off from the things that you can find in common person. Um, now, yeah, so that's creative kinds of empathetic communication and compassionate. You go, isn't that empathy already? I mean, well, compassion is a permission to feel that you are communicating to the other person a kind of safety. And a lot of times that's just being communicating with a touch, um, or, or just a shared reflection of feeling, um, with a touch of caring added in. Um, Now this is how we become, more good. How we achieve that virtue of goodness. So through this compassionate approach in communication. And different situations require different applications of empathy. You have to be artful. Now, in inner mind communication, uh, there's an intent to communicate within yourself. It uses your imaginative ability and your and a kind of daylight dream, I call it, where you have role plays in which the aim of each role play, uh, well, the the aim of the objective role play is to counsel in inner mind communications, to counsel yourself. And we do that by having a sense of who we are um, as a more directly impacted person in the drama of our lives, which I call the kid. Some call it the inner child. I prefer the kid. So, with that, I mean, you understand it's the child with language abilities, I think. You think. I think it implies that, and maybe I'm wrong. A linguist would know. Anyway, but yeah, there's then a communication between your inner kid and your inner counselor using objective empathy. So you're expressing your feelings, and then you're getting this response back from the part of you that thinks, but cares. And I call it the inner counselor. Um, in inner mind communication, there are two other role plays. One is another that is a communication using compassionate empathy, and this is where you're not role playing it. You can, but usually you're not role playing another person. You're just communicating as your dramatic self, your kid, to people who care about you or should care about you or should have cared about you, and to people that you care about or who you should care about or you should have cared about. Um, and this communication helps with the virtue of goodness. Um, it sparks a whole healing direction, which I may get into later. But let's move on to your powerful. That's your inner caregiver, by the way, and your dramatic self. And you are changing those two roles, of course, because when you're speaking as a source of the compassion, um, you're the caregiver. And when you're speaking to people that love you, you're the kid. So you are changing those two roles, but you're not picking out a person. You're not going to pick out an individual and try to role play what you think they think, which I think could be a big mistake sometimes. Because unless you compare how you imagine someone to be to the real life experience ongoing, anyway, that's those two roles. And this next creative empathy approach, to yourself, the two roles are the inner artist, which is the creator of your daydreams, the creator of your all you imagine to be, even the things you imagine to be real, including who you think you are, you think others are, so on. It is a reflective ability, and all of these things are kinds of reflection on yourself. I call that path a mystic path, kind of inner communication. Now, get more into that in a little while. The creative artist is above. Get this, it's above. It's able to reflect on your whole timeline, the whole story of your life. It's you're coming from a place that's creative, but when you're creating all that you imagine to be real, you're creating your experience, and you're creating new memories. You're changing old memories. It's a fascinating position to be in. It's like a controlled dream. If you've ever had one. Um, but you're as the creator, not the participant in the dream. Um, and it's kind of being above that timeline, gets into the mythologies of heaven and being above time. When the trumpet of the Lord will sound, and time will be no more. Yeah. Well, that's the voice of the artist, you know, and I hope you can forgive that little bit of lyricism, this mythological view. Um, the inner artist is also a sense of your higher power. The creator of all you imagine, creator of your universe, you. What does that sound like? And it sounds like people's idea of a higher power. But what is it in reality? It's your brain, your filter of reality, your um, reactive filter, and your sense of agency is something that's, well, boy, that goes so down the rabbit hole. I'm not sure I want to take you there. Um, hmm, can you handle it? Let's see. Maybe you can. Um, hmm. Your higher power is you, and in the sense that your brain is you, and your sense of agency is a bit of an illusion, actually, but it's a useful one. And hmm, when you understand that, it's where you see through the silliness of punishing people to make them better. Um, yeah, you start to see through the other perspectives. Nail that down even more so. Um, hmm, when I'm talking about communicating with your inner artist, what I'm referring to when I call it the rational or objective mystic. Um, you're in the role of an objective mystic. Um, you're having a rational view. Um, is there something that is a real higher power outside of your brain? Well, if there is, it would need to communicate with you through your brain. Uh, and I'll leave that to you to figure out and see if anything like that's going on. The near death experiences, which I mentioned on the channel, then seem to be um, connecting with this sense of a higher power. um, and a sense of being above the timeline line, which is also above your body. And when things are really bad, power of your inner artist is to lift you above it, get you out of the fray into a calm space, a kind of heaven that you can touch anytime. You don't have to wait till you die or have a near death experience. When you're communicating with the artist, you're there. The artist is in heaven. It's a voice from heaven, your heaven. And it's inviting you to come up and sit, have a seat, come up to heaven. And let's take another look. And I can remember in my religious days, by the way, I think Jesus, the mystics came along to free us from the good ones. Anyway, um, but there was a schizophrenic young person, and I was young too then. Remember which was older. Um, and he was very disruptive in the service, and people were complaining. So I came and I put on my artist hat, basically. Uh, he had a little creative empathy going, and I told him that I see you on a high mountain. Jesus is taking you there. And it's above all of your troubles, see, to the inner heaven. All of your troubles and the rest of your problems are floating into the air, letting them go. And Jesus sits beside you, puts one arm over your shoulders, says nothing, permission to feel passion. And so he began to cry, and he was in his right mind for the rest of the service. That's something that needs psychiatric care. Saying this is a cure for that, but that helped him out. The therapists out there, they consider that. That's the knife's edge. I tend to call it about some of the things that Mike and I understand. Um, should we say it? Especially the rants. Should we say these things, or should we hold them back? Um, you know, it's very hard to have a great empathy for an audience, and you don't know what that audience is. But we are suspecting that our audience will be progressive minded people who are self-reflective. Anyway, yeah, a little bit of a rational mystic thing going on with them. So I'm assuming that might be you. You've been listening to me this far. That might possibly be you. Um, Likely, actually. So, but if it puts you to sleep, well, that can happen. You're talking about this sort of things. It can bring up um, too much for some people, too much of their inner pain, their damaged faith and love that they've experienced in their lives. And for the infant, the only escape is sleep time. So if you're feeling sleepy, that's what I call the infant mind in you that is feeling overwhelmed. And bless you. I hope that you can continue slowly and increase the love flow and heal that problem. And now I'm on to the subject of the infant mind. Now we're plunging deeper. There's a part of you that the role play things don't really touch, but upon which these forms of empathy depend. That are the abilities that you had before you had language, which I call the infant mind. And it's in relationship to your feelings, to your needs. Okay? You had the ability to focus on those, to be aware of your feelings, your needs, And remember, you don't have an ego as an infant. That's gone. That explains some of the things that happen in meditation. Okay. Now you can focus, and there's some degree of playfulness that an infant can have. Yeah. An infant giggle. Yeah, you can make funny faces and the baby laughs, yeah, they can be playful. That's 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 the skill of play, and then there's the skill of actually expressing the feeling. Um, now let's start from there to link these three infant mind skills to your language self, your kid ability to kid, and its access to these three um, forms of empathy from counselor, the caregiver, and the artist. We're looking at the infant mind, the skills there. Okay, what evolved from the ability to express your feelings? Hmm. Compassion. The compassionate empathy evolved after you had language. This uh, more of a reflective ability, a sense of adult, a more emotional agency, sense of a self concept. Um, it goes with being embracing language. Well, um, so the infant skills underlie um, the forms of empathy. And let's go to the ability to focus. The ability to focus is connected to objective empathy. Um, you hear a teacher in the classroom saying, children, are you listening? Johnny, quit playing with your phone. We're in class now. Pay attention. So this ability to be objective and to discern better the reality of that you're looking at um, and learning from is a derivative of your original ability just to focus. And now let's go to the power of play. Well, you know where that's going now, right? Power of play becomes the ability to create play. You know, deportes, sports. That's a created play. And a creative play, of course, you put it in the comments. It can be seen in a number of ways, even in business. There's a kind of sport that goes on. Yeah. It's okay. So play develops into creative empathy. And the way you practice, and there are different ways, but what I prefer, there are three ways to um, be reflective and connect to these abilities of your infant mind. And one is focus, that's meditation. Um, and Mike is a long time experience or that skill. Um, anyway, it's an inner reflection. That's what some people call mindfulness, but you're just paying attention to in this approach, since it's everything in this approach is about your feelings. Just to make that clear. Um, so you're experiencing the sensations, the emotions, or whatever that you might be having, but you're not using language. You're just observing, focusing on these things, which makes you stronger vis-a-vis the thing that you're focusing on, which, like the other things that I've mentioned, help you to overcome feelings, helplessness, or the original real helplessness you may have experienced, which is trauma. That's what trauma is: damaged faith and love. Is helpless to be loved or to love. And those two things together is what I'm talking about when I say the love flow. So I'm giving you clues into when I go all lyrical on you to what I'm actually saying. And I love to be artful in what I say. So, eh, I like to consider the great mythologist Joseph Campbell is one of my inner teachers. Yeah, great things he had to say. Mythology has meaning. You'll hear me say mythological things or references to mythologies, some of which people call religion. And by no means am I telling you to believe in anything supernatural. That's your choice. Never, or to pick a particular religion. I'm never going to say that. If I do, don't listen. Hey, but yeah. Okay. So that helps you to understand the linkage of all of these things that I'm talking about. It's a kind of unlearning of helplessness around these skills, which can be practiced and improved. And that is, if you can do it, is it helps you with ego strength, what some people call ego strength, even though there's really no ego. But your sense of safety, your sense of being in a love flow, your comfort zone. You see all that links together? Okay. That's how you practice focus. Now let's go to passion, what undergirds compassion, which is the mere expression, the expression of emotional and sensational sensation. Maybe the wrong word there. What you sense and what you feel, um, and that can be negative or positive. Uh, and when you're expressing what you feel, and you're trying to avoid language, there's three sounds that can be elongated or drawn out. That's ah, ooh, and So I use those, not because of any magical belief in ah, ooh, but as ways to express your feelings and emotions without language interfering, or uh, bringing you out of that infant mind. So, you can say, ah, ooh, and you want to laugh, you can say it in a very positive way. Ah, ooh, Uh, try not to say that to another person. That's just to get in touch with your feelings without using language. And it can be negative. Ooh, you can draw those out. Each individual sound, you can draw it out, and none of it is language. And mm, all of this, whether you're feeling a negative or a positive thing, it's still very positive, because if you're able to do that, that means you have a sense of comfort, being in a comfort zone, which is connected to your sense of having an agency, a useful delusion. Okay, that's pretty deep stuff. That is too much. Look up Dr. Sapolsky and see what he has to say. Search around. You'll get there. I did, and I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. By far, probably the dullest at times. But I hope that I'm being sharp enough, clear enough with you today. Now, moving over to the power of play. How do you play with emotional feelings and sensations that you're having? How do you do that without using language? Hmm. Oddly enough, one way to do that, and remember, music was developed before language in human species, so music's very powerful. So you can use that to get in touch with your feelings, and it's especially the ones without words. So here we go with one of the most, probably a thing that some people just would say is just too silly. They're actually just being defensive and not being playful enough. Your comfort zone needs a little bit of help. But you're willing to be silly, which is a mark of ego strength. It is. It's a mark of being able to be at play, to take a joke. Right? Yeah. You have somebody roast you and you appreciate it. So how do you do that? And well, remember it's in music, there's a thing they call scat, which means shoot up a doo da ba doom bam boom. It's just putting together things. Their sounds sound a little bit like language, but they really aren't saying anything. They're just communicating from a deeper musical source, from deep in the infant mind. Okay? So, what I advise, and another way of doing this is to repeat a phrase over and over again, which will throw you into the infant mind, but um, maybe not connect, I think, well enough to your feelings, is to repeat a phrase over and over until it's meaningless. You know, it gets you out of language, it kind of gets you there, but this is a better way. Um, don't use words at all, or anything that could be a word, you know, to you. You might accidentally say something that's a word in another language, or, you know, whatever. But, or the speaking in tongues phenomenon that you see in different religions, especially the Pentecostal. Um, mm, remove the supernatural thoughts. They've studied this, and those aren't languages. Sorry, they don't fit. Was point out that this is just babbling. So be silly, babble like a baby, and so two things. You can, as if you're speaking, you just babble. Whatever sound comes to your mind, you're being playful. It can be, again, negative or positive. Hello tonight. I'm sorry. Jumping ahead. Ulana, chichinaka, Asfarani, chisakodine. That's hello. I, and you know, in a hand. Okay, you can do that. You can also add music, and as you add music, you're moving toward the artist. Yeah, you know, because your music, play that's tapping on the door of the inner artist. All you need is language. Mm. So anyway, when you're doing this, when you're singing it, which some in religious circles call singing in the spirit. Well, they say in the spirit, that's the infant mind. It's pure. It's has no ego. It's just part of the flow. It's very trusting, and hmm. Also very vulnerable, perhaps. If it's not trusting, then that's a very serious problem from trauma. Anyway, so let's give an example of that. Bonjour geçen ne sor Ariren şay Opur brentai Ah ah, the continue the night. Yeah. Silly is a good way to get in touch with your feelings too, You got to be a little open to be truly playful. Now, all of these things are very healing in and of themselves. If you put them all together, it can be amazing. the expression of feeling that changes as you change the uh, the speed. You're doing it faster, you're more apt to get in touch with a bodily kind of response and maybe a unlearning of helplessness to feel safe when you were being born. Um, that's how I experience it. 'Cause, yeah, I don't just teach; I practice. Some people teach and they don't. They call themselves therapists sometimes. Hello. Mm-hmm. Taking it somewhere they never been. Mhm. That's my problem with the therapeutic approach. It can be good, it can be bad. There are some things you shouldn't tell anybody, any normal, usual human being, because human beings have flaws. And there's some things you might not feel comfortable telling a therapist. Tell it to yourself. Blue. Anyway, that should be a phrase. Clue. Like, isn't that obvious? Anyway, hmm, yeah, we are as real as our symbol. How does the person defend when they have a trauma? What does the brain do? It gives you something symbolic of the original need around which there's all this helplessness. Gives you another lie, basically, another form of that need, which seems more attainable, which lowers your anxiety pain, which can be hazardous when you truly are helpless. So it saves you. You're on, it hurts you. But first, it saves you. And it's a wonderful thing. Um, but people are as real as their symbols. So if they're really in touch with who they are and their real feelings, they're more real. If they're struggling for symbols of needs that are actually in the past, um, they're not being very real. And I keep shutting my eyes and notice, like when I'm deep thought, I shut my eyes. Yeah, better be careful of that when I'm driving. Don't do these things when you're driving. Okay, so that's if you do all of these things together, it's more impacting than if you just did one or two of these things or three of these things. Um, that is a wonderful thing, though. It makes it dosable to just what you need on a particular occasion and situation, in a particular situation, um, which I think is great. Therapists should use this approach. Because it has to be appropriate to you and appropriate to you at the moment. Who best knows that? Probably you. Hmm? Think about it. That's the path of the mystic. Helping thyself so that you can help the world. Okay, helping the world. Moving right over to progressive politics. Progressive politics to me means progress. Progress in what? The efficient expression of and meeting of real human need. I'm talking about greed, which means that you're being very symbolic, being crazy symbolic. Power mongering and greed. Uh, well, Jesus said it was the source of all evil. Many people have said that power corrupts absolutely. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Um, what's a check on these problems? Greed and power mongering, democracy. So progressive politics has to be all about democracy, which provides checks and balances so that the extremes that will bring you too far out of your comfort zone, um, in which you can make progress, and leads to a lot of bad decisions and consequences. You don't want to. You want to hang on to whatever degree of democracy you might have, not have it threatened. So, progressive politics is about the efficient meeting of human need, um, and efficient meeting of the human need to meet human need. Okay, and that's progressive politics. And you say, I'm not political. Sure, you are. Anytime you try to influence another person or they try to influence you, you're right in the heart of politics and the job or wherever you are. And not to vote, that is just not progressive. It's not supportive of democracy. If you're not voting, you're no rational, objective mystic. You think politics isn't important. You're no rational, objective mystic. You haven't heard the call. Not enough, anyway. Because if you increase the love flow in yourself, don't you want to increase it in the rest of the world? That's political, very political. So, and there's where you get into difficult waters, like choosing the lesser of evils, which is also the greater of good. So, and, making changes within the comfort zone of that democracy. If you push for change too fast, that's not progressive. So, a lot of people who say that they are progressive are actually not, because they may be asking society to take steps they're not ready to take. And that's not progressive. That's just being pushy, and nobody likes that, and they shouldn't. But on the other hand, the people who are trying to drag us back in time to to, to a lesser uh, mutual respect and caring, like days of slavery, child labor, things like that. People who don't consider workers as trading partners, but rather as costs to a business. That's greed. You should never vote for somebody supporting that kind of position. So, progressive politics is also union politics. Workers are trading partners and should be able to organize just as any business or bigger trading partner does and routinely does. And then to turn around and say that the worker can't do it, that's oppression. And then on the field of immigration, they're not poisoning the blood, they're improving it. You know, they commit less crimes than the people who are already living in the country. At least that's true here in the United States. And so they're a blessing. Businesses are now freaking out about Trump trying to get rid of illegal aliens. You know, we call them. Um, Actually, these are people who are here um, without going through inspection. Okay, it's a law. It's not even the law of the land in some in the past, uh, but and it can be hateful, overly so. You know, they're freaking out because they need the labor. And you wonder how can you have a laborer and you don't give them a green card, you know, permission to be a trading partner, to be a true trading partner. You're trampling on human rights, and you be careful out there when you trample on anybody's rights. Eventually, you're going to come into a situation where your rights are also trampled. And that involves the right to do good in the world, which you lose democracy, you lose opportunity, opportunity to do good, to do better. That was the thing that the great Joe Biden, I'm going to say it, is one of the greatest presidents we've ever had. All the naysayers are full of baloney, okay? You're just wrong. You're just wrong. You know, that doesn't mean he was perfect. He made the right decision in every case, but he was a great president. And what he said to Xi Jinping when Xi Jinping said, "What you see as the difference between our countries?" Joe Biden nailed, pardon me, Joe Biden nailed it. He said, opportunity. Now you remember that. Now, this is how all these things interrelate and what this channel is about. So subscribe, join the team, subscribe, share the videos that you think are good. I'll admit some of them not very good quality, but if you like it, share it and comment. Even if you're criticizing, comment. Even if you're a troll, comment. You're helping us out. You're helping us out because that helps our algorithm, helps the channel. So I welcome you all. Go ahead and comment. We may comment back if we have time. Um, okay. Yeah, and please consider, well, you can like the video too. And you can also you can join us in the future, and one of our occasional Zoom calls where you'll be able to talk to our master of politics, Mike Rollins, um, or little old me, even. Both of us believers in inner reflection and the inner mind communication, caring ways. And if you have ways to do these things that you find useful, why not share? If you're a therapist, why not add your comments, your criticisms, even your warnings about how we have to have you? Well, some of us do. And probably all of us to some degree could use it. But some can help themselves. And let's face it, it's cheaper. Okay. So until we meet again, folks, please keep looking up. Sun will rise again. See? Actually, it's the Earth turning, and and it looks like the sun is rising. But yeah, yeah. And as this Earth turns, uh, try to be a voice of love whenever, however you be. All right. I think I've said enough. You've listened to all of this. You're a real mystic trooper. And I appreciate you. And I send you my love. Have a wonderful day.